This Military Appreciation Month, we're honoring a few of the many brave veterans of Tuscarawas County. We want to thank the Cavallina team at Raymond James Financial Services in Dover for making these military features possible. Now take a listen to the stories of these courageous veterans who sacrificed so much and how they continue to inspire us. In today's episode, we talk with veteran Shawn Patterson. You're from New Philly, right?
Yep.
Born and raised.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, graduated.
Yep.
Me.
With Michele.
2003. Did you enlist right after we graduated? What was...
So, you know what? I was, I tried to do a semester down at the branch, and, you know, my brain was fried. So...
Yeah. Hey, I know. All
I was like, this is not working out.
Yeah.
I was originally trying to go into the Air Force.
Okay.
And I opened up my big mouth and said I was allergic to latex. We're like, whoa, you can't do that. You can't be in the military. You're banned from trying to enlist. And next thing you know, about a week later, I get a call from the Army recruiter saying, hey, we can get you on a waiver. So shots fired to my own branch, the Army, for getting me in.
Okay. What was that conversation like with your family thinking, I think I'm going to go, this is what I'm going to do?
Oh, I come from a long list of veterans in my family. My dad was a Navy vet. My uncle was Army. Both of my other uncles were military, so it was it was accepted. They never had a big deal with it. So actually, it was kind of pushed, really. Actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
did you ever resist it at any time?
No. I think 2001 came along, 9/11 happened, and you know, you kind of got that feeling like, okay,
for sure,
time to go do something about it.
Yeah.
So
was that kind of like the defining moment where you thought?
I think so. I think so.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of people saw that happen and thought the same thing.
I think that's kind of like a defining event. You know, World War II guys had Pearl Harbor. You know, those events kind of stir something up in people's hearts and souls. So,
what kind of jobs were you thinking of doing whenever you went into the military? Did you have an idea, or did they just place you somewhere?
Not really. So when I enlisted, I worked on missile systems.
What's that like?
So it was I didn't work on the actual missile. I worked on the fire systems that fired the missiles.
Okay.
So a lot of electronic troubleshooting, computer stuff. The missile system that my primary job was for hardly ever broke down, and by the time my first deployment came around, they didn't really get used a lot. You had to have a general's permission to fire a missile at that time. So, I got cross-trained into armament. Any gun that the Army had, I worked on and fixed and repaired.
Okay.
And
was that something you were looking to do when you were going in, or you just did like put me wherever you need me?
Right, pretty much.
Kind of thing?
Yeah, I got cross-trained in a bunch of other things too. I worked out of an electronics shop, so night vision device, radios, stuff like that.
What was basic training like?
Actually, looking back on it now, it was probably one of the best times of my life.
Really?
That's why the brotherhood is so strong in the military, because you come together in the worst times of your life. Yeah. And you're like, this really sucks. But you have no other option but to come together, work together as a group, and just do what you have to do to get to the next day. And that's where those bonds are created. And
whenever you were over there, how did you keep in touch with your family?
Skype was a big thing.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting because the Vietnam veterans that I talked to, they were writing letters.
Right,
and we're in a different
Right.
era
Right.
where technology was in your favor.
Yeah. Well, it's the progress of society.
Yeah.
It's that was a blessing,
Mhm.
being able to Skype.
What's your most vivid memory of basic training or boot camp?
There, probably the gas chamber.
What's that?
So getting test with CX gas, you get gas with CX gas too, so you can come to know that your gas mask is going to work. But I think probably at that point was the turning point where I was like, okay, this really sucks. But you just you kind of really come together, kind of like at those moments like that. So we had to take our gas masks off and recite our platoon motto, our name, rank, all that stuff, and and then you cannot breathe. You think you're going to die, and when you exit the gas chamber, you're just snot's coming out your nose, coming out of every orifice that you got.
You're probably just terrified. What did you do for fun? Was there any like off-duty recreation that you were able to engage in?
Oh, of course. We used to go off-roading quite a bit. We had guys with me and a group of friends. We all had trucks, and some jacked up, some not, and just going out in Louisiana and Georgia, going off-roading. Driving down to the ocean. When I was in Louisiana, I was close to the Gulf. We went down there on our weekends off, and just the one beach is Holly Beach, right down there by Lake Charles.
Yeah.
And you could just drive right on the beach. We'd take one of those small grills, have the music on in the vehicle, and just have a good time down at the beach. And
do you remember any pranks that you guys used to pull on each other?
So I got a good one, actually. When I was in Afghanistan, I had a squad leader that he dumped the whole bag of crunched up potato chips in my sleeping bag.
Oh my
So my sleeping bag was completely greased out and was just disgusting. I was like, okay, I got one for him. So his sleeping area, he built his up. He made his pretty private. He had walls built up, and he had his.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You make connections with your supply stores, and you get materials that you need. So.
Okay.
So he had a door to his little area, and he had a padlock on it. Well, I went to the supply sergeant, and hey, you got any super glue?
No.
So I super glued his padlock, and he came back at the end of the day after he was off. I was already back in my sleeping area, and he threw the padlock at me, and he had to get a bolt cutters to get in his room. He's like, okay, Patterson, I underestimated you. Okay. So that was, it's just, I look back, I got some pictures and videos of times over there, and, it's just the crazy stuff what we did to make each other laugh, and,
to get through one of the hardest times of your life.
Right. Because I can remember when I was in Afghanistan, my first deployment, we were only supposed to be there for 6 months. And 2 days, literally 2 days before we were supposed to go home, we got pulled in and said, hey, we're getting extended for 3 more months. We're not going home, we're getting extended. So we had guys that already had their vacations planned out and all this stuff, and they had to cancel all that stuff.
What's that like when they come and tell you you have to stay for 3 more months?
It's the most demoralizing thing ever. So you're so excited to go home and see your family. It's demoralizing. So we were told that we were getting extended. The area that we were at, we got replaced by the Romanian army, and we got moved to a different area that hadn't been occupied by U.S. forces in 2 years, and the area was completely controlled by the Taliban. So We're like, not only are we not going home, we're going into an even more hostile area.
Yeah.
And so,
Is that just when like explain how you're feeling right there? Because that sounds terrifying.
well, it's just, when we were in high school, when 9/11 happened and the war first kicked off, we're seeing this all on TV. And, growing up in small town New Philadelphia,
Yeah.
you're just,
Eyes
there's
wide
kind of like an
open.
odd bubble around this area.
Right, yeah.
So when you grow up and you leave T County and, I get in Afghanistan and it's like, it's a huge culture shock, obviously, because you see it on TV and then all of a sudden you're there and it's right in front of your face, in front of your eyes. And so, yeah, it's a different animal.
Yeah, for sure.
But
How many deployments did you do?
so I had 3. I was in Afghanistan in 2006 for 9 months. I was in Baghdad for 15 months from November of 2007. I got back on New Year's Day of 2009. And then when I got home from that, I made my Sergeant E5 during that deployment. And I got PCS'd, changed of duty station, moved from Fort Polk, Louisiana to Fort Stewart in Georgia. So I was with 10th Mountain in Fort Polk, and then when I changed to Fort Stewart, I was part of 3rd ID, and then we had one deployment to Al-Assad, Iraq, in Western Iraq from 2010 to 2011 for another year.
So in total, how long were you in the service?
8 years, and 3 of them were overseas.
When did you find out that your service was over, or what did you decide that was going to be the end?
It was kind of weird. It was kind of interesting because I was wanting to do my 20, and
so you wanted to do a career.
Right, I wanted to make a career out of it,
Okay.
and then just because I had those 3 deployments back to back to back. It was a year, well, almost a year with 9 months. The first one, come home for a year, did 15 months. And at that time, I was starting a family. I had my first child in July of 2008, and then when I went to Fort Stewart, I had my second child. So at the end of my 3rd deployment, my mental health was kind of taking it took its toll on me. And, and then being away from my family, I already missed 2 out of 3 Christmases with my kids, and so that was hard on things. And then my body started deteriorating a little bit, and so October 13th of 2011, I got out.
What is something that you remember the most about deployment?
When I was in Baghdad, I had there was an incident where my company got hit with an EFP, and EFP is the upgrade to the IED, and it's basically a molted copper projectile, and it basically just went our up armor didn't stop anything, and well, it didn't stop that for that matter. Just made our vehicles look like Swiss cheese. So one of my best friends got hit with one, and this is kind of how our mentality works. We can laugh about it now, but so he survived, but my other friend, he was the TC, the truck commander. He was in charge of that truck, and after they got hit, they were moving alongside the road, on the side of the road, and he was telling the driver, my good friend, to stop, and he's like, I'm trying to, and that was then when he realized he lost both of his legs, because he's trying to hit the brake, and both of his legs are gone. And this guy, he always was the jokester in our company, and he never lost that, even after he lost both of his legs. He was always upbeat, still joking about everything, and So, and even him telling us that story, he was laughing about it. And, just when he was over in Germany, seeing guys that were far worse than him, quadruple amputees, and just seeing the after effects from that, that changes your whole aspect on life, your whole thought process on life moving forward after seeing the effects of war.
What changed for you in those, say, 18 months, first 18 months you were in the military?
Growing up. You're 18, 19, being thrown into that, and you grow up quick. And then that's why the transition of getting out is so hard for veterans, because the separation between military mindset and civilian mindset is, and I hate to use the term dealing with civilian mindseted people, but it's
I understand.
It's just the going through something that traumatic is, and then coming home to regular life,
It's like regular people don't know what you've seen, what you've been through, and don't know how to, and I would say maybe don't even know how to have a conversation or how to understand what you've seen.
Right, and that's why a lot of veterans isolate, and they don't talk to anybody. They hate big crowds. They turn to, drugs and alcohol to deal with and cope with things. And I had my own bout with that, and that's why I had to turn to Jesus Christ to help me with my life. And that's kind of been my mission now, as you kind of know. Just trying to do what I can to help other veterans, help my brothers and sisters to realize that we can have a better life.
Yeah. Out of the 3 tours that you did, can you tell me the major difference between the 3? Or were they all pretty much the same in terms of the things that you were dealing with on a daily basis?
So my first deployment to Afghanistan, I didn't really leave the base a whole lot. I was mainly working on support of our guys pushed out to the first lines. But that one was, even though it was shorter, it felt like it was longer than all the rest, because it was the first time I'd been away from home, really. So,
and you're in a foreign country.
Right. So, and just dealing with all that, you're like, man, are we ever going to go home? The second one was definitely more active. I was out on missions almost daily. The adrenaline rush was pretty high. And so to me, that was fun, typical guy, gets to shoot guns and go out and play soldier, as we did when we were kids. My third deployment, I call it my paid vacation, because I wasn't really doing a whole lot on that one. We were only there for training local Iraqis. And so by 2010, 2011, things were pretty much drawn down in Iraq then. The unit that ended up replacing us in the middle of 2011, they were the last ones in country. They were the ones that were on the news pulling out. So we were next to last unit there. And I was my company's training NCO at the time. So I scheduled and trained, all of our company's training and kept up with all of our training requirements, documents, and stuff like that. So it was it kind of sucked. I didn't really like that one, because I sat behind a desk during that deployment. So
you mentioned the camaraderie amongst your fellow brothers and sisters. Do you still keep in touch with any of those?
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah, there's unfortunately a lot of my guys live out in California, some down in Texas. So I keep in touch with them, social media and phone calls. Guys, my one best friend was, we went to basic, we went to our schooling together. We went to Afghanistan together. So, I mean, we were together for,
A long
I
period of
mean,
time.
you know, you get to know their families, and so, I mean, their family becomes their, I mean,
It's your brother,
they're my
definitely.
brother. They're
Yeah.
family to me. I mean, I would be there for them in a minute. Just looking back on it now is just, I would do it all over again.
Really?
I really would. Just
Really? If you were given the option that you could re-enlist, would you take that?
That's a hard question now. I'm born again Christian now, and so it's really hard for me to say that.
What did it feel like coming home?
Oh, I get, yeah, there's nothing like that to see your family, and you gonna make me cry, dang it.
Sorry.
That's, it's just, you know, all emotions, you know, everything you feel all at one time, so.
Knowing you're not going back.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Being with your kids.
Oh, yeah.
When you came home and transitioning back into civilian life, what were those first couple of months like?
Hell.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that I share with civilian people is, you know, growing up in small town America is take you out of small town America, go live in downtown New York City for a year, and then come back home to small town America. And oh yeah, but the time you were there in downtown, you lived in downtown New York City, that was filled with getting shot at, bombs going off, not knowing if you're going to survive, your buddies are going to survive, and then come home from that and expect to be the same person. You're not the same person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the veteran population of marriages do not survive. You don't trust I mean, I can speak for myself, but I'm sure there's a lot of veterans out there that kind of have the same feeling is, I didn't trust my family. It's hard for you to trust your family. I had issues with anger, and I isolated away from my family because of that, because I was so afraid of what could happen. And my wife at the time not knowing how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So, and again, you isolate, and what do veterans do best? They turn to, you know, substance abuse and alcohol and
You see that
whatever.
all too much.
Yeah, and you know that's why it's so big right now. You know, this generation of veterans right now is so key because of, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan being kind of drawn down for a while. I think it's so key right now to catch these veterans right as they're transitioning, and get them into organizations or get them into, you know, things like, you know, the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association I was talking about. You know, get them into
Get them the support that they
right.
would
So,
maybe
you know,
need.
get them into the VA, get them into just, you know, groups. That's what I'm starting with the ministry, is trying to get veterans together in this area, because that transition is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. Not seeing the uniform every day, being on a military base. You make me cry again. That is,
Sorry.
that's just tough. It's again, it's that camaraderie, the brotherhood is, to me, like no other.
Now that you've been out for a while, how, looking back, did the military change you to who you are today?
It's a love-hate relationship. I would do it all over again.
You would.
But it took a lot, because while you're in, you're accomplish the mission. Go, 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 nonstop. Let's do this. Do what we got to do to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
and civilian life is not really hard charging like that. I mean, it is, but it's, we're slowed down.
There's no time to, I feel like what you're explaining is like there's no time to stop and think. It's just go, go, go.
Right.
Whereas in day-to-day life, it's not like that at all.
Right. So you've got your downtime and your just it's different. I definitely had to basically learn life over again, I think.
Yeah. What would you tell an 18-year-old kid now today, not your kid, somebody else's kid, saying, hey, Shawn, I think I'm going to join the military. Do you have advice for me? Or what would you tell that person?
Me, at the time, it was the best decision I've ever made. I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah.
You have plenty of options when you get out. There's, GI Bill and all that stuff. You don't even have to use the GI Bill. You can get free college while you're in. So, the opportunities to do things and to learn leadership is amazing. So, that's the biggest takeaway I think I got from everything is leadership on the outside world, outside of the military. Learning to work with other people, right? That's always hard, but and then but again, like I said, that transition from military into the civilian world is, and trying to work with others in the civilian sector is pretty hard. But it opened up a bunch of doors for me. So there's that.
Is there anything that you would want someone to know about veterans? Do you think that there is a lack of education for the general public on veterans?
Oh, for sure.
And what they've been through?
If you know somebody that's a veteran that has been overseas, on the physical aspect, I would say, no jump scares. You can't jump scare a veteran. Because I know that's like a thing now in the workplace is people love to do the jump scare game.
Maybe not to a veteran.
Yeah, so that's a no-go, at least for me anyway. But I've met a lot of people in my life, and the veteran heart is probably one of the biggest hearts I've seen. And there's something to say about someone who signs the dotted line of a contract that basically says, I'm risking my life for
this country.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. Is there anything that you would like people to know or to remember from your story?
I would just say it's, like I said, this country that we live in is still the greatest country in the world. We have freedoms like no other. We still have those freedoms.
Yeah.
And I've been in other countries where there are not freedoms.
Yeah.
So
we're blessed. But you're right. We need to remember that we do live in the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Michelle.
I know that it's probably different because we know each other on a personal level. We went to high school together, but I really do appreciate everything that you've been through just to be here for our country.
Well, it's always my honor.